Hi, Alan Cox here. If your tenant is enabled for the Copilot Frontier program, then likely you have access to Copilot Cowork. You've probably heard a little bit of buzz about Cowork and just what it is. Well, in my opinion, it really takes what we've seen so far over the last several years in Copilot and just completely different level. Copilot chat and within the apps have done a great job of um, summarizing and in organizing content, gathering content, asking questions, about your content and about things, and does all of those things. But Cowork takes all of that and actually can perform tasks and actions rather than just talk about it. So, as a matter of fact, we'll see that inside of Cowork, instead of chats, they're called tasks because think of it really like you are giving instructions to a coworker that's carrying out those tasks, and they can run multiple tasks simultaneously, and we're going to take a look at that. And so that's going to be our focus today, is getting under the hood a little bit of Microsoft Copilot Cowork, what it is, how we use it, how we access it, and some of the really cool things that it can do for you. So that's going to be our focus today, is Microsoft 365 Copilot Cowork. Let's get started. All right, let's jump in and take a look at Microsoft Copilot Cowork under the hood just a little bit. So it's powered primarily by Work IQ, which understands your work environment, who you are, what you do, who you work for, who works for you, all of that information there, and Claude models. And we're going to take a look at that in just a minute, a little bit deeper. So, Cowork is your AI teammate. So, it's an agentic assistant that lives inside Microsoft 365. It reasons across email, calendar, files, Teams, SharePoint, all of that. And so, it uses multi step work, chain of thought processing, and reasoning, and picks the right tool, verifies its own results, and usually does a pretty darn good job. The other thing it can do is it can actually act on things. So it task based work, right? It's sends email, schedules meeting, builds files, and so forth. And so it learns your role, learns more about you as you adapt and change within the organization, and it uses that work IQ context to stay current and personalized over time. And so it all starts with you. It starts with asking in natural language what you want the task to be, and so then Work IQ takes and personalizes that just a bit and adds some memory to it if there's memory in Copilot, add some context and so forth. And then Claude agents models take over from there and adds the decision making and reasoning and all of that that has to happen there. And then M365 tools reads and writes that graph API, and it just kind of the reverse is kind of the same. It goes back and Claude composes the answer, and Work IQ forms it for you. And so the models that do the thinking is Opus 4.7, not 0.446. It's 4.7 now. And deep reasoning, the heavy lifting really happens here for complex multi-step plans and thought processing. And then Sonnet 4.6. So those 80 everyday tasks, summarizations, drafting, and all of that. And so those are the two models, primarily the two models in play today. And so that Work IQ understands your identity, understands the organization, it understands where you fit in that organization. It calls on memory to use memory that you've used in previous in chat and add and to remember things, and it picks the right tool um, for your response and your output. So whether that's Outlook, Teams, Graph, Power BI, whatever it is, but it also applies those guardrails, those safety controls and privacy controls that you have in place. I do hope you do, around purview, governance, and the like. It includes skills and agents as well as MCP tools. Those skills are like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, but calendaring, email, those skills that allow it to do what it does. And sub agents can be researcher agent, analyst agent, different agents that are within the Microsoft 365 Copilot that can be called in and work and into to help the Cowork agent do its job and get all of the responses back that it needs to. Then there is graph backed actions like mail, calendar, Teams, Outlook, SharePoint, etc. All MCP tools. These are all loaded on demand and keep the model focused on responses. So in short, Work IQ grounds every response in your identity, memory, and 365 content. And of course, we can go outside 365 content and build dashboards using public information as well. I'll demo that in a little bit. Claude models 4.7 for Opus and Sonnet to handle some of that reasoning and tool calls. And of course, we have skills and subagents and MCP tools to extend Claude with special capabilities. And then the result is you have a teammate that reasons, acts, and adapts securely within your 365 environment. But before we can get any of that going, the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure, because it is in Frontier, we need to make sure that we have Frontier enabled in our tenant. And how do we do that? Well, we go as an administrator, you go to administrator and admin.cloud.microsoft. From there, we go to go down to, that'll take us to the admin center. We go to Copilot and then we go to settings. From within settings, I'm going to go to view all, and then I'm going to go down and I'm going to look for Copilot Frontier, and then I'm going to enable this for at least specific users. And I would recommend starting out here, but then we want it to be all users at some point. But the pilot, do specific users and test it out and so forth. But anyway, I have mine set to all users. That's fine. Once that is done, that just enables Frontier. That doesn't enable the Cowork specifically, but that's for Frontier. Then from there, we can go down to agents in Agent 365. That's what this is. Might have heard a lot about that. That's Agent 365. So we go to agents, and we're going to do AI or all agents. And then we're going to go here. We're going to go and we're going to search for Cowork, and Cowork should show up here. And from there, we can determine how we want to deploy this. So our users, we can install that for them. So install from the agent store, it will install for them the entire organization. Or again, we can pilot this out to specific users, and I would recommend doing that. Or we can just make it available to whichever user groups that we want. If we choose to install it, I also would recommend to go ahead and pin for those users. Then it pins in their agent list in their Copilot experience. And so we're going to take a look at that. Because here I am in Liam, one of my personas, and we see that Copilot Cowork is pinned here. We can see that he cannot unpin this because it's been pinned from Agent 365, right? So as we get in here, now there's there's differences between chat and Cowork. The level of the depth that it can go is just completely different. It's an action task based, whereas this is a chat based. Yeah, it can perform some things for us. It can create calendar events. It can do a lot of that stuff. But I tend to work and live in the Copilot Cowork area here pretty much now at this point. So there's just a lot of cool things that this does, and we're going to take a look through those right now. So as I mentioned, these are tasks. These are not necessarily chats. So each task we can as we do them, one of the differences is if we go to chat and we were to ask it to do something, um, you know, create an Excel spreadsheet with my customer information and our sales. I'm just throwing some stuff out here, but I'm just going to see kind of what it grabs and what it does. This is chat. Now, if I were to move away from this chat at this point, then it pretty much goes away and it's going to stop. It's not going to continue to process this. It's pretty much gone. I can go up here and I can click new chat, and that's different. So what it's doing is, because I am using work and web, it should go and it should grab some things from my environment. Hopefully there are some things, and it's created a template to use with current sales field. Okay, it doesn't have a ton here. What's included? It's basically giving me a form. Okay, fine. So here I'm going to open this up, just see what it did. And I think it's just giving me something fairly generic, but I really wanted this to kind of gather some data from what I already have in my environment. And honestly, it may not have a ton here. So wait for this to kind of load up here. Refresh this real quick. All right, I'm gonna give this just a second. Okay, just seeing what other prompts for custom data. Okay, so I'm just gonna open this up again and see if it's got anything, or if it's just okay. So pretty basic stuff. Really nothing really there. I'm gonna use. I'm curious though. I'm gonna use the same prompt, and I'm gonna use Cowork, and we'll immediately see some differences here. So one of the differences is this is going to be, if I click over here in the top right corner, we'll see this new task. It's not a chat, it's a task. It's not a conversation. It's a task. I've given my virtual coworker a task to run. And if I were to click away from here, that task is continuing to run. I'm going to delete some tasks here that I just don't need anymore, because we'll kind of revisit these in a minute. But but this is in progress. Right now I can move on to another task entirely and ask for another task. Okay, so let's do create a what do I want to do? Let's create a PowerPoint deck on Microsoft Copilot Cowork in Contoso branding and speaker notes. Okay, so we'll see here in a second, so we're letting this go, and I'm just kind of playing around here a little bit. So we're creating a PowerPoint deck. I've got it creating hopefully some sort of Excel spreadsheet or something going on. So it's working on my request. Now it's moving along. So now when I click out here, I've got 2 tasks going here, and I can continue to add additional tasks. These are some template tasks, and you can modify these. If I click this format text, I can enter and schedule this. Okay, we'll look. Let's do this. If I'm going to escape, I have to escape twice, and it comes back here. So let's look at some of these template ones we've got here. So if I say organize my inbox, here is a prompt that's pre-written by Microsoft, and you can edit this all you want. Now, if I were to click here and hit enter, it's going to go. So if I click format task and hit enter, it did it anyway, because I did it a little bit sooner than I wanted to. I'm going to delete that task because I do not need that one running. That one's still in progress, but it did create an output. We'll talk about that in a minute. Organize my inbox. I want to do a couple things here. If I organize my inbox, I want to click the format this, and I'm going to enter. Okay, now we go. I'm going to schedule every Monday morning. So it will run this every Monday morning. That's just one thing. But I can look up here and I can modify any of this I want. And when I run this, I can still go back in here and it's the original. I'll show you what I mean here in a second. So if it's spam, it's spam. Okay. But what I want to do is I want to give it, I want to tell it to do, yeah. So I'm gonna have it triage this. I'm gonna say, let me do this. I'm gonna give it another thing. Emails from Microsoft system alerts or notifications move to a new folder called Microsoft email alerts. Okay. We'll just do that. And I don't care about the rest of this, but you can, you would detail this prompt exactly how you would want. And I'm going to take this out. The 24 hours, you might do that if you want to do something like that. And I'm just going to let this go just to give us an idea of what will happen. Now, it's going to work on this prompt, and then I'm going to get away from it. You're generally not going to sit here and look at these prompts or look at these outputs and look at as it's coming along, as it's building this. You just kind of sort of set it and forget it and move on. Once it gets to thinking there, we can move away from it because now it's registered the task. So it's doing this. This one is done. Let's see what it came up with here. So it came up with, see if it came up with any spreadsheets. Okay. So here it is. And by the way, the skill it used was Excel. Now, where do these files go? Where do these live? Open the location in Excel. Well, where they live is in the OneDrive folder under My Files and Documents, Cowork, Sessions, and you'll see these sessions here about how long ago they were. When you click in them, you'll see an input, and you may see an output. If there's been an output, you'll see the output as well, and the output is the actual file, which is the one we just asked for. But we don't have to necessarily drill down into there. It should actually show us here. Okay, so here's the file. We can open the location. We can download the file. Normally, I don't know why it didn't here, it will give us a link directly in here to that file. I'm going to click this and see if it'll just open. See what it gives us. So notice a little bit of difference. It gave us a much better breakdown of what we have. So it gave me it gave me some stuff here, some information. But I'm going to take this a step further, and I'm going to continue this conversation. So we're going to go back to Cowork here, and I'm going to say from here, from this one, I'm going to continue to message. Now, here we're still talking about this, so it's sort of like chat, but it's really not, because I'm going to give it another task associated with this. And in this case, I'm going to tell it to, I want to give some interesting insights from this file, things I should be aware of, and forecasting, create a dashboard, and a new sheet, and all that. So I'm basically taking this spreadsheet that's pretty decent but basic, and I'm going to kind of take it to a whole new level. So we're going to let that go. All right, so we're going to let that go, and then we're going to drill out here. So we're going to see this is going to update here. And so we've got this one in progress. This one needs input. So when I see that needs input, that means I need to go do something about it. So it wants a time window, last 7 days recommended. Okay, that's fine. We'll do last 7 days. Okay, so it's asking some information, and that's why it said it needed input, so it wasn't finished. And I'm going to submit this, and then that's going. So I've got multiple tasks running right now for me. So these are just kind of doing their things. I don't have to sit there and babysit anything and watch anything. That triage, it needed input. Now this should update here in a second. This one just completed. Let's see what this one done. Now it's still executing because it completed the last task. So there's a little bit of a lag on that. So we're going to let it, gives us the thought process. So we're gonna let that one go here for just a second. When we're here in this, so what task should we tackle next? Well, if we do a forward slash, we'll see we've got skills, so we can call in PDF skills, Word skills, Excel skills, PowerPoint skills. We're working these two skills right now because we're building an Excel file and a PowerPoint file. We're going to do some calendar management here in a second. These are all skills. We don't have to forward slash. It will know. All we have to do is just call it out by name even. So let's do this. I don't have to call out the calendaring skill. Let's just say find time next. Let's find time Friday to meet with Mia. I'm not even going to forward slash anything. Mia on the budget report. Um, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Actually, let me do this. Add. And I'm gonna I'm gonna forward slash here forward slash because I want to add a file. Let me just see if we can throw a file. Let me add. I don't know what any of these are, but that's fine. Look, as to meeting, okay. And that's good. It's gonna find. Let's go. Boom. So we're gonna go, and now I'm waiting on the work on the request. And once it gets going, and I know that it's, not asking me anything or doesn't need to. Okay, there. Now I can move away from it because now that's going to start work. Schedule a Friday meeting with me on a budget report. We're going to monitor that. We see this one here still needs some input. Okay, still want some input. Yes, created a folder and move. That's fine. Submit. It's just wanting to verify a few things. You can tell it don't verify. You can, be very, very granular with it. I just didn't. And so now it's telling me, okay, it's done. So, and we're going to move and we're going to go to we're going to go to the inbox here and look and watch what happens here. We should see these messages start to make sure it's not asking me for anything additional. Oh boy. Delete. Uh, Delete the duplicate. Yes, archive the rest. That's fine. Ask me a bunch of questions. Normally you would just, yeah, well, I mean, it's fine. Yeah, I don't want to, yeah, I don't want to necessarily delete that one, but you can always allow delete messages, so you can always tell it to do things. Um, um, I'm gonna cancel that one. Okay, we can move it. Okay, and I'm gonna say always allow move. Okay, and now it should just kind of do its thing. Now I'm going to go over here and we're going to should see some things get moved out here. It may take it a second. I'm gonna pop back here in just a second. But we can see some, because it's handling some of this stuff here. But let's go back to our, yep, let's go back to our meeting. Well, we're going to go back to our, here, and let's see what else is happening here. Um, So organize emails, that's happening. This completed. We're going to take a look at this. Uh, okay, schedule. Now it's in progress because here's what it's looking like. Now it knew me, Mia Rodriguez. It put a date in here. I can add location. I can add notes in here if I want. I can do all the things that I want to do. I'm really curious to see if it added this to the invite. I'm not saying that it will. I threw that kind of in last minute. We'll see. But now it's pretty much set. I can change any of it I want to, but I'm going to go ahead and just create it. And it's for Friday, so we're going to pop out to Friday. And we'll look here. And there it is. And we'll see if it actually added the attachment. Um, do not see the attachment, and that's okay. I've not seen that work thus far. Of course, we can always add the attachment, but everything's here, and it does tell us that it was sent by Copilot Cowork, so we do know that it is working there. This prompt, by the way, I'll tell you, this prompt may not work exactly right. And I'll be honest with you because I did something a little bit that I normally don't do, and that is I modified this prompt to do that. And it may be some conflicting things without looking at it real carefully. One way that I could certainly do that is I could just do the prompt here and say, move all emails related to Microsoft security to a new folder called security. um, from yeah, we'll just say security, or we'll just call it Microsoft security emails. um, I'm gonna see if it'll do this in the prompt. Ask for not ask for confirmation, just do it. While that's happening, we'll wait for this to kind of trigger and register this task. I'm going to switch over to our one of the other tasks, okay, that we had going here. All right, so Microsoft Security emails, that's needs input. This one here, we can probably just frankly get rid of this task because I kind of messed that up, and that's on me. Um, you can certainly do that, but I asked you to do things that were probably a little bit in conflict without really focusing on it too much. So we're going to go back here. Triage, I'm going to delete the task. All right, let's go here. Let's take a look at this and see what it came up with. So here is our presentation. Let's click on this. All right, Contoso. Of course, any logo or any branding that we have, we can include. And so yeah, so yeah, so here is our PowerPoint presentation, and I think it just does a really, really good job with the formatting, the branding, less word walls and all of that. It's very, very um, much improved over what we've seen from just creating it in Copilot chat. So that's a little bit kind of what it does there inside. And of course, we can go in and continue to ask it to do additional things here just by continuing that conversation. Even though you're not chatting with it, you're adding a new task for it to perform, and that's the primary difference there. And so we're asking it to do this. Let's go in here and see what's happening here. Okay, it is asking me to move things here. I'm gonna tell it to always move, but I'm gonna look at this. Um, so here's our messages. It created that folder, and it moved everything Microsoft Security. Now I didn't get, I could have said anything that's automated, system automated. These are not. Notice they're not from Microsoft Security, and so, but it definitely did all of the action items that I wanted it to do. The other thing we can do, there's just a ton here, right? But if I have, let's say we've got this, let's say we've got this meeting here, this budget here with Liam Anderson. It is on Tuesday, but let me do this. I'm going to go to Cowork here, and I'm just going to say, um, what meetings do I have with? Oh no, actually, let me do this. Mia, this week. Okay. Now we just created one and it should pull that one up, and then I'm going to do something with it. So I'm going to toggle over here because we've got this one here for, I believe, yeah, this one here that's on Friday. That's the one that should pop up. It should pop up pretty quickly. Make sure that, oh, that's because I'm actually in the wrong context here. I'm actually on a different, oh my goodness. All right, let's go here. What meetings do I have with Mia this week? All right. Well, we know that. It should, yeah, I was actually in my Copilot Cowork instead of Liam's here. So this should pull up the one we just created with Mia. But we're going to show you how we can do a task here, really simple. So we've got a couple, and I'm just going to say this. I'm going to say move Fridays to this Thursday. Okay. So because there's somebody involved, it's going to ask me to confirm it and to update, and it'll of course send out the update. So there we go. We can update the event, and I can say always update, always allow update event. But we're going to update the event, and when we do this, we should see this move just that fast from Friday to Thursday as we asked it to do. Just like other things that we may do inside of chat, we can do, of course, arrange for our week, prep for meetings, research a company, all of these things. And they're built-in prompts, but we can go through and modify these prompts as we want or write our own prompt. But we can also schedule things. So I'm going to back up twice here. So if I say every Monday morning, give me an email summary of my work week ahead. Okay. I can say schedule this and also give me one for today. All right, we'll let this go. So it should schedule this also because I've asked it to every Monday to kind of give me a look ahead at the week. And then as I go to, once this gets going there, we're going to go here. We can see this is scheduled, and we can see that it will log it as a schedule here in a minute. And anytime you say, schedule this or every Monday or however you want to do it, it will do that. While this is running, because it should actually give me and it should send me an email while this is running. I want to show you one other thing outside of Microsoft 365. Okay, so it's going to activate and run real quick. So it's basically saying that's going to put it on a schedule. I want to run it, but I also want to activate a schedule, and that's what it's going to do. So I'm going to say yes, and then I'm actually going to go back to Copilot. We should see now that this is scheduled because that's what it did. All right, so we're going to go here. We're going to go to this. But like I said, it's really kind of grabbing and it's listing messages, viewing calendars, kind of pulling everything together of everything I need, sending the summary now. This may not take very long, so I may just wait here for just a second, and let's just see if this shows up. And I really don't even need this message. We'll see if something shows up. While we're waiting on that, I want to show you something that I do personally just outside of Microsoft 365 entirely. Of course, we're going to go back here. One thing that I do is I create dashboards from things that are outside of the 365 environment, from a public um, web sites, for example. And one of them is down here where I have, for example, admin roles. One of the things that I do a lot of work with Purview and a lot of that, but sometimes it's hard to determine what's the least privileged role based on a task. So let's say I want to reset a password. I want to modify a mail routing rule or something like that. What's the least privilege? Well, you can go and Google that, right? And there's a few websites out there that kind of do that. But what's the best way to do this? Well, I created a prompt for it, and it's really a pretty simple prompt. And I'm going to show you the prompt. We'll scroll all the way up here because I've kind of messed around with it just a little bit and added a few things. But here's the show you the, come on, show you the original prompt. If we get back up here to the very start. I would like to create a dashboard, an interactive dashboard for all roles in Microsoft Entra ID, Purview, Exchange Online, and SharePoint. I would like to be able to filter by task that will give me the least privileged roles that are needed for a given task. Okay, so we scroll on down, and then it gives me this dashboard, right? And these files again are saved in OneDrive under folders, documents, Copilot, Cowork, or Cowork, and there's some output folders there. So this is the HTML file, right? And so if I were just to open up this file, you'll see this is kind of what it looks like. And I've actually taken that and I've pinned that here. Okay, I've pinned that on my browser. But this is it. And so but I can go in and I can say, okay, well, if we're talking, what role, e-discovery and legal hold, what's the task? Um, you know, create or escalate to e-discovery. Well, I need insider risk management investigators is the least privileged role for that task. If I want to configure hold duration and scope. Well, I need legal hold, right? So, I could do reset password, password administrator. So this is a dashboard I created. It's not built on 365. It's just, I'm using a public knowledge sources to go and find it, right? And I have several of these built that I just create. I've got one for licensing, right? So if I want different types of licensing, and based on the feature of the capabilities and all of the features, it'll give me the license, what's included in it. I have one for Microsoft Learn documentation if I want to know, Microsoft 365, Exchange Online, a guide. Here's different guides, right? If I want, updates, right? So what product, Edge, what are they doing here? What's launched? Not so much. What's in development? This, right? So, Exchange, all statuses. Okay. So anyway, you get the idea. So all these are just prompts asking it to find exactly what I want and to fine tune it there. Okay, so just a lot of really, really cool stuff there. All right, so here we are. Here, let's see if I got my email. So here is my email that I asked for. Okay, here's my meetings, different things going on. Okay, all of this, and of course I can continue to ask for more and more information as I need it to go. So, but man, we have tackled a lot, and there's so much more coming. You get alerts here, um, and you get different models. I just usually keep it on auto. Seems to be working fine for me, but there's a ton you can do here. Get in there, play around with it, have fun with it. And we've covered a lot, and there's so much more we could cover. But It's still in frontier, so there are some things, and we've run across a couple of those, and that's okay. But as I always tell people, it's as bad today as it's ever going to be. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for watching.